Here's what I thought life in Yemen would be: a constant state of alert, navigating a crisis zone I'd pieced together from fragmented news reports. I came here expecting to find a country defined by conflict, a place where survival was the only thing on the agenda. But the biggest and most immediate challenge I actually faced? Learning how to gracefully accept my third invitation to tea for the day, because in Yemen, saying no isn't always an option. I moved to Yemen as an expat, and this is the untold story of its culture, its costs, and the beautiful, complicated reality of what to expect. Before I even packed my bags, my world was a flood of warnings. Government travel advisories screamed, "Do not travel." News clips painted this grim, uniform picture of instability and danger. My family was worried sick. My friends were just confused. "Why Yemen?" they'd ask, their voices laced with concern. And if I'm being honest, I had those same fears. I pictured myself living this Spartan existence, constantly looking over my shoulder, my life confined to some secure compound. The Yemen in my head was a black and white landscape of hardship. I expected the challenge of living in a country facing a humanitarian crisis, and that challenge is undeniably real. What I didn't expect was the sheer overwhelming force of its culture, the shocking economics of daily survival, and the disarming humanity that meets you at every single turn. This is the story of the reality that exists beyond the headlines. The life I found when I stopped looking for the Yemen I was warned about and started seeing the Yemen that was right in front of me. Deciding to move to Yemen isn't a casual choice. It's a decision you make after a lot of research and a heavy dose of reality. My preparations were less about what to pack and more about what I should brace myself for. I read every official warning from governments around the world: the UK, the US, Australia, and they were all unanimous and stark. If you're there, leave. Do not go under any circumstances. They detail a landscape of civil unrest, terrorism, kidnapping, and armed conflict. These weren't just suggestions. They were dire alerts, painting a picture of a nation where basic infrastructure had crumbled and safety was a forgotten luxury. My own government's advisory was particularly blunt. It stated that consular services were suspended and any evacuation plan couldn't rely on their help. They recommended drafting a will. Think about that for a second. The official advice for an expat assignment includes preparing for your own death. This was the foundation of my expectations. I imagined a life lived in the shadows, moving as little as possible, avoiding crowds, and treating every single interaction with suspicion. I talked with other expats, mostly aid workers and diplomats, who confirmed how hard it was. They spoke of the constant struggle for basic services, the frequent electricity blackouts, and the logistical nightmare of just getting by in a country with a fractured economy. I envisioned my apartment as a fortress, a little pocket of sterile safety in a sea of unpredictability. I packed first aid kits, water purification tablets, a stack of books to fight off the isolation I was sure I'd feel, and a mindset braced for the worst. I was ready to navigate the crisis. What I wasn't ready for was the profound, life-altering beauty I would find woven directly into the fabric of that crisis. I expected a country on its knees, and while the struggle is immense, I found a people standing tall, with a dignity no headline could ever capture. My first real lesson in Yemen had nothing to do with security protocols. It happened on my third day, walking through the maze-like streets of Old Sana'a. I was, admittedly, on edge. But as I stopped to admire the gingerbread-style architecture, an old man with a face like a roadmap of Yemeni history waved me over to his storefront. He didn't speak English, and my Arabic was clumsy at best, but his smile was a universal language. Before I knew it, I was sitting on a small stool with a steaming glass of sweet, mint-infused tea in my hand. He asked for nothing. He just wanted to share a moment. That wasn't a one-off incident. It became the defining pattern of my life here. In Yemen, hospitality isn't just a nice custom. It's a deeply ingrained cultural reflex. A trip to the corner store for bread turns into a half-hour conversation. A taxi ride ends with an invitation to the driver's home for lunch. I quickly learned that the biggest social challenge wasn't avoiding people, but managing the sheer volume of their kindness. This extends to one of the most famous and misunderstood Yemeni traditions: chewing cat. Before arriving, I saw cat as some controversial drug. But here, I saw it was the lubricant of social life. The afternoon qat chew, or majlis, is a cornerstone of society where people gather to discuss politics, business, and family. It's not something foreigners are expected to join in on, but being invited to simply sit with them, to listen, and be present is a sign of immense trust. The social fabric here is woven with traditions that feel ancient. Life revolves around family and community. It's a conservative society, and as a foreigner, you learn to navigate its customs with respect. For women, this usually means adopting a modest dress code, like an abaya, and understanding the norms of gender segregation in many social settings. But behind closed doors, in the women's-only parts of homes and celebrations, there's a world of vibrant color, laughter, and community that is just as rich and lively as the men's. You learn to appreciate the 5 daily calls to prayer not as an interruption, but as the rhythmic heartbeat of the city, a constant reminder of the faith that underpins everything. I came expecting to be an outsider, but the relentless, unconditional hospitality of the Yemeni people insisted that I become a part of their world. Before I got here, I'd read that Yemen was inexpensive. That's like saying the ocean is wet. It's true, but it completely fails to capture the staggering reality of the economy. On paper, the numbers are jaw-dropping. My rent for a simple but comfortable apartment in Sana'a is about 85% lower than what I'd pay for a tiny studio back home. A delicious meal at a local spot, enough for 2 people, might cost the same as a single cup of coffee in the West. A single person's estimated monthly costs in Sana'a are around 511 to 161 Yemeni reals. For an expat earning foreign currency, this sounds incredibly cheap. My budget here allows for a standard of living that would be impossible for me back home. But this is where the story gets complicated because my economic reality is an illusion. It's a bubble of privilege that has nothing to do with the daily struggle of the Yemeni people. The real story isn't how cheap things are for me. It's about the crushing weight of an economy in free fall for them. The average monthly salary is tragically low, estimated to be around 390 in a city like Sana'a, but in many areas it's far, far less, sometimes as low as $30 a month. While I might find a meal cheap for a local family, that same meal can be an impossible luxury. The national currency, the rial, has seen a catastrophic loss of value, completely eroding purchasing power and making every day a battle for survival. I see it every time I go to the market. I watch as locals count out their worn-out bills, their faces etched with the stress of making impossible choices. Do they buy medicine or do they buy food? The price of a basic food basket has soared, pushing millions towards starvation. An estimated 17 million people are food insecure. This is the dizzying contrast of being an expat in Yemen. You live in 2 economies at once. In one, you experience a life of surprising affordability. In the other, you are a daily witness to a profound economic crisis where basic necessities are slipping out of reach for almost everyone. The low cost of living isn't a fun fact. It's a symptom of a deep and painful wound. You can't talk about life in Yemen without talking about the people. They are the heart and the unbreakable spirit of this nation. The statistics are grim, but the individuals you meet every day tell a different story. One of incredible resilience, dignity, and a stubborn refusal to be defined by their circumstances. I met a man I'll call Omar. He became my local guide and over time, a dear friend. He was a university-educated engineer who lost his job when his company folded. Now, he drives a battered taxi to support his wife, 3 children, and his elderly parents. Every day, he deals with fuel shortages, checkpoints, and constant economic uncertainty. He works 14-hour days, and some nights he comes home with barely enough to buy food for the next day. His story isn't unique. It's the story of millions here. Yet, I have never once heard Omar complain. Instead, he talks about his dreams for his children. He points out historical landmarks with a scholar's passion, his eyes lighting up as he tells the legends of the Queen of Sheba. One afternoon, after a particularly rough day, he insisted I come to his home. His wife, Fatima, had prepared a feast. They laid out the best food they had: salta, the national dish, and warm, fresh bread. They have so little, yet they shared it all. You see this spirit everywhere. In the women who walk for miles to collect water because the pipes have run dry. In the kids who have known nothing but conflict, yet still find joy in a game of soccer in a dusty lot. In the shopkeepers who open their doors every morning, not knowing if they'll have a single customer, but refusing to give up. This isn't just survival, it's a form of quiet resistance. It's a declaration that war and poverty can destroy buildings, but they cannot destroy the human spirit. These are the people behind the UN statistics, each with a name, a history, and a dream. It is the single most important and most humbling discovery of my life as an expat here. This is a side of Yemen that rarely makes the news. If these personal stories and the strength of the Yemeni people resonate with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It helps these untold stories reach a wider audience and shows that people are interested in the reality of life beyond the headlines. Your support really does make a difference. Living in Yemen is a masterclass in holding two opposing truths in your mind at the same time. You can be standing in the old city of Sana'a, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, marveling at architecture so ancient and beautiful it brings tears to your eyes, and then, without warning, the entire city plunges into darkness because of a scheduled power cut. You can be enjoying a moment of perfect quiet, watching the sunset paint the mountains orange and purple, while knowing that just beyond the horizon, the conflict grinds on. You can be a guest at a wedding, a vibrant explosion of music and joy, so full of life, it feels like the most hopeful place on earth. And on the way home, you pass a line of cars that stretches for miles, waiting for a fuel delivery that might not even come. There is the contrast between the external image and the internal reality. From the outside, you see a country that seems chaotic and broken. But inside a Yemeni home, you find a world of order, cleanliness, and fierce pride. There's the contrast of the landscape itself, harsh, dry deserts that give way to lush, green valleys after a rare rain. As an expat, you feel this contrast in your own life. You're acutely aware of the humanitarian crisis, the malnutrition, the fact that only half the country's health facilities are fully functional. And yet, your personal experience is often one of overwhelming kindness from the very people who are most affected. This is maybe the hardest part of life here to explain. It's not about ignoring the hardship. It's about learning to see the beauty that lives alongside it. It's understanding that resilience isn't the absence of suffering, but the ability to find and create moments of joy and connection in the middle of it all. So, what does it really mean to be an expat in Yemen? It means unlearning everything you thought you knew. It means trading the black and white headlines for an infinitely complex and colorful reality. My expectation was a life of fear and scarcity. My reality became a life of profound human connection and an abundance of spirit. I came here expecting a country defined by what it has lost. Instead, I found a culture defined by what it refuses to let go of. Its history, its traditions, and its unwavering hospitality. I anticipated a journey into a crisis, and it is that. But it's also a journey into the heart of what it means to be human, to find generosity in poverty, hope in despair, and a welcome in a place the world has been told to avoid. The untold story of Yemen isn't about the conflict, as devastating as it is. That story gets told every day. The untold story is about the laughter in the old city alleyways. It's about the taste of fresh bread shared with a stranger. It's about the resilience of a man like Omar, who, despite losing almost everything, still has the grace to share his home. It's about a people who have faced the unimaginable, yet still find the strength to offer a smile and a glass of tea to a foreigner. This country has a way of stripping you down and then rebuilding you. It challenges your perceptions and fills you with a sense of wonder. Life here isn't easy, but it is also rich with a depth that I have never experienced anywhere else. This is the Yemen I've come to know. A country not of victims, but of survivors. A country of poets, historians, and hosts. And above all, a country of incredible, unbreakable heart. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of Yemen. The story of this country is far from over, and its people deserve to be seen and heard. If you want to continue exploring untold stories from around the world, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. What part of Yemeni culture surprised you the most? I read all your comments and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks for watching.